Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today, I want to talk about the current inflationary environment and also about the supply chain shortages that we're seeing, how they're linked. So, at this point, everybody realizes that we're in an inflationary environment. You can see the prices going up, gas prices going up, food prices are going up. Everybody's raising their prices. And the reason why business people are raising their prices is because they know that the government is printing money, right? They've been printing money for a very long time, but they're doing it at an increasing rate, right? They're talking about printing up another $3 to $5 trillion. Okay, so just to kind of put things into perspective, a trillion seconds is 31,000 years, right? So the number trillion, it's not even a number that we should be talking about unless we're talking about molecules or stars, right? Um, so that's the type of money that the government's talking about printing up, and business people hear this, and they know that the government's printing money, and they're like, okay, if the government's printing money, I'm going to raise my prices. Okay, so not only are they going to raise their prices, but they're also going to sit on their inventories, right? Because here's the thing, um, why sell my inventories today or tomorrow when I know that prices are going up and that in a couple of months down the road I can sell them at an even higher price? Okay, so that's the problem with a highly inflationary environment. Um, People that have inventories have an incentive to sit on them rather than sell them, right? Because here's the problem: in an inflationary environment, if I have a whole bunch of inventory and I sell it, well, now I got to go back to my suppliers and replenish that inventory, and they're increasing their prices, right? So better for me to just sit on my inventory and just wait a couple of months or wait a year and sell it then at the highest price, right? Which is kind of really not that different than when people think about buying and selling stocks in the stock market, right? You buy stocks for your portfolio, right? So that's kind of like your inventory. Um, and then you don't buy and sell stocks every day unless you're a day trader. You hold on to those stocks, and at some point in the future, you will then sell them out of your stock inventory, right? So when you're talking about stocks, this is a concept that makes sense, but the same exact logic applies to warehouses and inventories, right? There's no reason for somebody to sell their inventories today if they know that in the future the prices are going to go up, right? Now you might say, well, how are these people going to make any money in the meantime? Well, here's the thing: um, business people generally don't live paycheck to paycheck, right? They don't have they're not stressed to pay their rent at the end of the month. Okay, now they didn't just wake up one day and put themselves in that, find themselves in that situation. This is something that they have been planning for their whole lives, right? They've worked themselves up to that comfortable situation where they don't live paycheck to paycheck, right? So they're in a position to look at the environment and say, hey, where are we now? Where does it look like we're going to be going? And if the answer to that is that we are in an inflationary environment where the government is printing money, they're going to keep printing money. The value of the dollar is going to keep going down. You know what? They're just going to wait until the future and sell their inventory then. So that explains the supply chain problems, right? The reason why, at each level of the supply chain, everybody's holding on to some inventory or a higher than normal inventory because they know that they can sell it at an even higher price in the future, right? So here's the thing. What's also happening with when the government is printing money, they're essentially taxing you, right? Because what's happening is by the government printing more money, they're doing it electronically. But when they print money, what they're doing is they're diluting the value of the existing money, which means that they're decreasing the value of the money that you have, right? The money you have saved up, they're decreasing that value. So anytime the government is decreasing the buying power of your current money, they're taxing you, right? So printing money in reality is a really a direct tax on the people, right? They're just doing it in a sneaky way, right? Rather than telling you that they're taxing you, they're printing up more money, which means they're decreasing the value of the money that you have. So in fact, they are actually taxing you. So let's talk about what the solution to this is, right? What's solution to this supply chain problem where at each step of the way, business people are basically, holding on to their inventory in the hopes of trying to sell it at a higher price in the future. Well, the solution, right? The solution to inflation is has always been a recession, right? So recessions don't just happen; they are engineered. Okay, so in the past, when the Federal Reserve was somewhat independent, right? I won't say that they were ever 100% independent, but when they were somewhat independent and they were acting as the inflation fighters that they were meant to be, when the economies started heating up, what the Federal Reserve would do is they would start raising interest rates. They would like gradually raise interest rates about a quarter point, right? So they would raise it, they would sit back for a month or two, raise it another quarter point. So they're gradually raising interest rates because it's really hard to micromanage economies. You can't just do one thing and all of a sudden you see an immediate impact. Um, so they would raise interest rates about a quarter point over the course of a year. And at some point they would see, like it would kind of go over the edge. It would be like, okay, they'd keep raising it and nothing would happen. And all of a sudden a year later, they raise it another quarter point and boom, the whole economy goes into a recession. And like, oh God, we went too far. And then they start lowering interest rates after that point. So the fix to inflation has always been a recession, right? Recessions were always engineered. Now, at this thing with I mean, basically the government started artificially printing money back in 2020 through the stimulus checks that they were issuing to people, right? And also through all the unemployment money that they were just throwing out there. People were getting paid not to work. Well, all that was happening with all that unemployment money that was coming through the federal government was all printed money. So this was it's all inflationary money that has basically rolled forward to now. All right. And now on top of that, the government's talking about printing up another $3 to $5 trillion, and they don't have to actually do it. All they gotta do is talk about doing it, and it's immediately imputed into the prices. People are already acting upon what the government is saying that they might do. Okay, so that's already being reflected in the prices and also in the actions of business people. Business people are choosing to hold on to their inventories, rather than sell them now in the hopes of trying to sell them at a higher price in the future. So the further this goes out, right? So when you have like a mild inflation and you kind of nip it in the buck right away, mild inflation, you can try to fix that with a mild recession, right? Well, when you're this far out, all right, a mild recession is not going to do it. Now you need to get into a very deep depression, rather a very deep recession, possibly pushing into a depression. Okay, because here's the thing: you have to convince business people to decrease their prices, right? You have to scare me, right? You're not going to scare me with a mild recession at this point, right? Because I'm gonna say, well, I'll just wait another month and see what happens. I'll wait another 2 months and see what happens. You have to engineer a very deep depression that's gonna convince me that I need to lower my prices, put me in a situation where I can say, hey, I don't have to worry about, I can sell all my inventories because I know I can go to my suppliers and buy them back at an even cheaper price because the direction of prices is going down rather than up. Okay, so that's the solution to high inflation and supply chain problems, right? You have to basically reverse course. In the past, in my lifetime, right? I'm 49 years old. I've never seen it get this bad. I believe it was somewhat this bad back in the 70s, but I was just a small kid at that point. I really, I can't remember it, but I've heard that there was a bad, I've studied that there was a bad inflationary problem back in the 70s. But in my lifetime, I've never seen this much of an inflationary problem. I'm 49 years old, so I've been through a lot of up and downs. I've seen a lot of up and downs in the economy. Where we are right now, the only way you fix the the high inflation and the supply chain problems is with a very deep recession, a lot deeper than we had back in 2008. All right, because going into 2008, going like 2007, going to 2008, yeah, there was some inflation, but it was nowhere near as bad as it is right now. Right, it was nowhere near as bad. So, given that it's so bad right now that the prices have obviously gone up so high that at each step of the supply chain, people are hoarding their inventory. They're holding on to it so they can sell it in the future at a cheaper price. Given how bad this is, it has to be a really deep recession, going into a depression almost, where it's going to convince business people that, hey, you got to sell the stuff, you got to lower your prices, and that's really the only fix. That's the only thing that somebody like me is going to respect, right? Because here's the thing, I mean, and I've been an accountant for many years. I'm also a businessman, so I both advise people, in their businesses, and I also have my own businesses where I also have my own inventories. So and I am sitting on inventories, right? I am hoarding inventories with the hope of, hey, I'm going to sell it at a higher price in the future. So you got to scare me, and I don't scare easy, right? You gotta scare me with a pretty deep recession for me to start selling my inventories, or start reducing my prices. Because I gotta tell you, I can tell you, I have from where we were, let's say 2 years ago, I have pretty much doubled the prices for a lot of the stuff that I sell in different businesses that I have, and I'm sitting on inventories, believing that in the future I'll be able to sell it at an even higher price. So, like I said, I don't scare easy. So, a recession would have to be pretty severe to scare me. So, a couple of things for you guys to think about. If you're not a member of the channel, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys soon.